Don't spend your mental energy focused on how do I go and kind of handle the fact that the dollar exchange price is going up or down. Focus your time and energy on how do I make more money so that I can buy more Bitcoin. And I think that if people can channel their energy towards that, it's much better. It is obvious, but it's worth stating. The more that you look at your portfolio, the more that you look at the prices, the less happy that you will end up being. And so what you have to train yourself to do is say, look, I own what I own. It's going to be good or it's going to be bad. I don't know. All I know is that I'm going to keep trying to make more money so that I can go and I can buy more in my portfolio, and I'll let the process take care of itself. I am focused on decades for my portfolio, but I'm focused on hours and days for my work. That to me is the best strategy.
According to Anthony Pompliano, the secret to managing Bitcoin's volatility is comprehending its foundations. When the price of Bitcoin declines, many investors become alarmed because they perceive it as a loss rather than an opportunity. However, a lower price just indicates that Bitcoin is on sale, giving investors the opportunity to purchase more of the valuable asset at a reduced cost. Pompliano also contends that the majority of investors lack a thorough understanding of Bitcoin, which is the true obstacle. They purchase at the height of the enthusiasm, believing that the price would only rise, and then they sell out of panic when it does. However, people who understand Bitcoin's long-term potential take a confident rather than a panicked response to volatility. Before we dive deeper into his insights, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more content on Bitcoin and the digital asset space. Also, drop your thoughts in the comments below. It helps with the YouTube algorithm and supports the channel. Thanks, and enjoy the video.
I think people should stop worrying so much about this price drawdowns. If you understand what Bitcoin is, when the price goes down, it means you get to buy more Bitcoin. It's a gift. It is somebody is saying to you, hey, this asset is trading for, right now, $20,000 cheaper than it was a couple of weeks ago.
It's Black Friday today for Bitcoin.
So if you like Bitcoin and the price is $20,000 cheaper than it was a couple of weeks ago, then you're probably buying. There are plenty of people, though, who either one, don't understand Bitcoin, and so they bought at the top, like, this thing's only going down. I thought it only goes up. This is a problem. Doesn't feel good. The second is there's a lot of people who get greedy and they use leverage. If you go and you start using leverage and the price goes down, it goes against you. That can cause a lot of pain. And the third thing is there's a lot of people who have been trying to come up with all kinds of weird ways to use their Bitcoin or take their Bitcoin, borrow against their Bitcoin, all these things. If you just buy spot Bitcoin and you hold it, it's kind of like real estate, right? Go back to 2020. Think about real estate in a lot of markets. You had bought a piece of real estate. It sits there. There's no stock ticker to it. There's no price every single day. But, the COVID thing happens. All of a sudden in March and April, real estate prices are crashing. Everyone's worried. Then by the end of the year, everything's come back. Now all of a sudden real estate prices are up. That volatility you really didn't see unless you're a weirdo and you're going on like Zillow or LoopNet every single day. The problem here is that everyone sees it every single day because it trades 24/7. And so what you have to understand is control your emotions. That is one of the hardest things to do in investing. I know people, and sometimes it happens to me. You wake up, you see green. Prices are up, you feel good. Hey, we're having a great day, we're making money.
I love seeing green.
Wake up the next day, you see red. Prices are down. Dang, we're losing money. The truth is that you're not making or losing money until you actually sell and capture that value. And given that most Bitcoiners are not going to sell, then you own a certain number of Bitcoin. Don't spend your mental energy focused on how do I go and kind of handle the fact that the dollar exchange price is going up or down. Focus your time and energy on how do I make more money so that I can buy more Bitcoin. And I think that if people can channel their energy towards that, it's much better. It is obvious, but it's worth stating. The more that you look at your portfolio, the more that you look at the prices, the less happy that you will end up being. And so what you have to train yourself to do is say, look, I own what I own. It's going to be good or it's going to be bad. I don't know. All I know is that I'm going to keep trying to make more money so that I can go and I can buy more in my portfolio, and I'll let the process take care of itself. I am focused on decades for my portfolio, but I'm focused on hours and days for my work. That to me is the best strategy. There's Citadel, the hedge fund, there's Citadel Securities. Citadel Securities does more of the market making stuff. Citadel Securities was participating in crypto, but only with institutional investors, right? They were doing something called EDX market, which was a bunch of like kind of, big financial firms got together and like, hey, we'll service each other and only
Citadel
institutions.
Securities or the other one?
Citadel Securities,
okay.
right? And so the problem though is everyone wants to do the retail. So that's where all the flows are. That's where all of the assets are. And so they couldn't go and work with Coinbase. Citadel Securities was worried about working with a publicly traded US company because they thought the regulators may come after them.
Yeah.
And so now all of that fog, all of that has been lifted. And, we've talked about it before, but it's like somebody once said to me, it's like holding a beach ball underneath the water in the pool. And all of a sudden you let your hands go. What's that? Here goes the water. Doesn't mean the price does that, but the is the participation of all these people coming into the market. And that ends up being a really, really big deal. And so I think Citadel Securities doing this is a kind of a watershed signal. On top of that, we saw Coinbase. We saw Robinhood. The SEC dropped investigations and or lawsuits there. And then on top of that, look at what Citadel is actually doing. They're not saying we're going to take directional bets on because we think Bitcoin's going up or down. They're saying we're going to do market making. They essentially want to have as little risk in the market, be as non-directional as possible, but they want to drive revenue or profit. And so this is how institutions play the game. They don't come in and say, like, let me lick my finger, stick it in the sky, and hope that I pick correctly whether Bitcoin's going up or down. They look and they say, I hope that I can figure out a way to make money in up or down markets. Citadel Securities is one of the best firms in the world at doing that, and they're going to continue to try to figure this out. And crypto, because it has more volatility than other markets, there's wider spreads in terms of the retail trading. That is where I think that they're going to end up actually getting a lot of revenue and profit. And so obviously they want to go there, and now regulators are going to let them do it where there's clarity.
For the cryptocurrency business to succeed in the long run, a balanced regulatory strategy is necessary. Anthony Pompliano contends that it is not optimal to be very optimistic or overly cynical. Rather, he supports a cautiously optimistic approach in which authorities recognize the industry's promise while implementing measures to prevent deception and manipulation. Regulators must provide fair and transparent guidelines to safeguard investors and promote growth. While too lax restrictions encourage unethical behavior, too tight regulations can drive innovation to other nations. The secret to a secure and prosperous crypto environment is a well-considered, well-balanced structure. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay updated on our latest videos. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Now let's dive back into the interview.
Well, definitely there's going to be more regulatory clarity. We have a, maybe not even a pro-crypto SEC chairman, but Paul Atkins is going in. He understands this stuff, right? He's not going to be anti. That's the thing is, like, I don't think that it's good for an industry to have, hyper bullish proponents as the regulators. I actually think what you want is you want kind of skeptical optimism. That's what you want in regulators, right? You want people who say, this is interesting. We want to have the positive impacts of the industry. We don't want the negatives. We don't want to empower the fraud, the waste, all the nonsense. So we need to come up with a clear set of rules that everyone understands that have the desired impact. We want to have rules that create a safe market, but we also want to embrace the ideas of a free market, of capitalism, democratic participation, etc. So what you need is kind of rational people there. And the rationality really shows in what I consider skeptical optimism. If you have somebody who's too bullish, then they just open the doors and they're like, hey, everyone run wild. That's not good. And then if you have
anarchy.
People, well, it's just people are going to do the things that they've done for hundreds of years, which is they're going to take advantage of the system. If you also have people who are too bearish, then they end up suppressing innovation, suppressing technology, pushing things offshore, etc. And that's really what I think we saw for the last 4 years or so. And so it feels like we're ending up in a much better place. The question now is just what are the rules going to be? And so the Senate Banking Committee is a big part of this. There's many other regulatory organizations, individuals, the companies will have, some input into this. Like, that's what you want, is you want a lot of different stakeholders at the table. You want a bunch of people to go and try to say, hey, this is what I think we should do. And my guess is that the best regulations are where a lot of people walk away from the table being like, I got like 90% of what I wanted.
Well, 90%.
Well, if you go and you talk to the companies, most of them actually have more rational views than some of the regulators.
Yeah.
Right. So if I've gone all around the world, I've talked to some of these regulators, some of these markets, the regulators are just like, do whatever you want. But the companies, I think, understand for the long-term viability of their business and for the industry, you need to have that clear set of rules that, again, has the desired outcome. And so you want people to walk away from the kind of negotiating table of regulations. Nobody should get 100% of what they want.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of like, how do you know you did a good business deal? Both sides walk away saying, I left a little on the table for the other guy. Now, the desired outcome from this is that they would like to reduce the national debt, they would like to weaken the US dollar, and they would like to get interest rates down. Those three things, right? Weaken the dollar, get the debt down, get interest rates down. Now, the way that you do that is you can't take a single solution and try to have multiple outcomes. So you need to have multiple inputs, have them impact each other to be able to get multiple outcomes. So there's three main pillars to this idea of a Mar-a-Lago Accord. The first is that what they want to do is they want to establish a sovereign wealth fund. Obviously, that's being done. They've announced it. They're putting it in motion. The second thing is tariffs. That also is being implemented. And then the third thing is that once you have more revenue, and also once you have once you have the tariffs, and then also once you have the sovereign wealth fund, then you've got to be able to cut a lot of costs. And that's where you see Doge and other things coming in. But cutting cost is trying to get after the debt, but you can't just do cutting costs through Doge. You also have to make an agreement in Europe. We're providing security for the world. Pay us money. Why are we providing all this security, but y'all ain't paying for it? Right? And so it goes back to this idea that the countries know that they should be paying for it. We just have never had somebody who goes to them and says, pay us the money.
Yeah.
So this idea of payment for security agreement is being implemented in Europe. This is definitely going to happen. They're going to pay more money. On top of that, you see the Doge stuff. And then there's this idea of what people are calling a century bond. And in a very generalized manner, the idea would be that if other countries are holding debt, we would do a debt swap with them. And we would essentially swap the debt for these 100-year bonds that would be much more advantageous for the United States, for their debt holders to hold these 100-year bonds. Now, the reason why I describe all that's a lot of stuff going on. And so it can feel kind of chaotic when you're trying to evaluate stuff, you're trying to implement things, you got the tariffs, you got the sovereign wealth fund, let's run over here for security for agreement, etc. But the general idea is we have to weaken the dollar, we have to get interest rates down, and the interest rates in particular maybe are one of the most interesting parts because Trump's first presidency was completely focused on the stock market. And people who have watched these episodes for months now have heard me say Trump measures the US economy by the stock market. That's what he did in the entire first term. That's what he's always done. But now Trump is actually changing his mind. So when we get new information, we have to change our understanding of what people are actually paying attention to.
Anthony Pompliano emphasizes that the future of cryptocurrency regulation will likely become clearer, especially with figures like Paul Atkins, who understands the crypto landscape, entering the regulatory scene. While Atkins may not be overtly pro-crypto, Pompliano suggests he is also not hostile toward the industry, a balance that he believes is crucial. Pompliano contends that cautious optimism is the most effective regulatory strategy. This entails adopting strict regulations to stop fraud, waste, and manipulation, while also embracing the benefits of cryptocurrencies, such as innovation and economic freedom. He cautions that extremes on either side, whether very bullish or too negative, can be dangerous. Overly optimistic authorities run the risk of letting bad actors take over, which might result in chaos and market exploitation. On the other hand, an overly restricted approach hinders technical advancement, stifles innovation, and forces talent and companies overseas. Although Pompliano sees indications of a more logical and cooperative regulatory future, he feels that the last 4 years were characterized by such suppression. He supports a cooperative approach in which different stakeholders, including companies, legislators, and regulators, cooperate, creating regulations that ensure that no party achieves all of their goals while ensuring that everyone obtains the fundamental results required for a just and prosperous market should be the aim. According to Pompliano, this is comparable to a fruitful business negotiation in which both parties leave having reached agreements while still reaping rewards. And as always, happy investing.